I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my weekly photo chats. Thanks for being here. So today I want to talk about the magic of my Rolleiflex. The one in the gray tuxedo. So this is a Rolleiflex T. And this looks like a standard Rolleiflex. Twin lens reflex, says Rolleiflex at the top. Everybody knows this. Has a strap, a nice Dom key strap. It goes over my shoulder, works great. I bought this from a woman in a local town, and then I ended up using it to photograph her son for his senior portraits with it. But this is a fine camera. It's the Rolleiflex T, which came later and was considered a little bit of a budget model. It has a Tessar lens instead of a Zenitar or a planar lens, but it works great for black and white. It's perfectly sharp. And it has one issue with this. Instead of having the two wheels that most of them had to set the shutter and aperture, there's a combined switch, which some people say is fragile. It's made of plastic, it can break. Or it's a band of some kind of material that can break. Maybe, but it works fine. But this camera does not have a gray tuxedo. This camera has a gray tuxedo. I just think that's the most beautiful looking camera that I have seen in a Rolleiflex. And I know they made a Rolleiflex gray, but I didn't know that they made it in anything other than 4x4. But this is the 6x6 Rolleiflex in a gray leather, I call it a tuxedo. And the reason I do is because there is no strap on this camera. This camera I walk around with like this. I carry it. And this camera is magic. Because this camera, because it's so attractive, it gets people to go, wow, look at that. I actually took it out to a local flea market, and I thought I'm going to walk with it with no strap, just carry it like this, as if I just bought it, and see if I can get anybody to let me photograph them. And I'm thinking people are probably selling things or trying to make a buck selling some stuff. They don't want to be photographed. They're going to think I'm some IRS agent. And I walked up and down the first row. And before I was done the first row, I was on number 11. Everybody who I asked or who saw it said, hey, look at that. They were completely willing to be photographed. And I have those photos. I'll put a link to the photos below. You can see them. I think it was a magnificent story of how a camera can introduce you to people. And I don't know that the black Rolleiflex, even though it's a beautifully attractive camera, I think there's something about the gray on this one that really catches your eye. And that's the kind of thing where I'm really a fan of connecting the people. I think the biggest thing I would say for me as a photographer is having that ability to meet people. I don't want to think of the world as full of strangers. I want to think of the world as full of people I haven't met yet. And this lets me meet them. And when they talk to me, I say, oh, this camera only shoots people that talk to it, or people who have mentioned it, or people who've been attracted by it. And they always let me. There's even one photograph inside that group of photographs you'll see from the flea market of one person who's not a seller. He's a guy with a cowboy hat on and a bunch of, it looks like rope over his shoulder. That photograph, I went up to him. He was a customer. He was just walking around, and I thought it was a cowboy with a lasso over his shoulder. And when I got closer, I could see it was electrical cords. And I said to him, hey, I thought those were ropes for a lasso, but they're electrical cords. Can I take your photo? He said, oh, no. Oh, okay. Once he saw the camera. He hadn't taken a good look at the camera. But once he saw the camera, he's like, okay. And so that picture's in there too. So it's fascinating what you can do. At the end of that series, in the link below, there's a series of photos from downtown Denver because I had some film left and I wanted to shoot out the rest of the raw so I could process it. So I went down to Denver, walking around where people are walking and eating and doing their, touristy things. And the same thing. People responded. I just walk with the camera in my hand like this. No strap. I have to carry it because it's just, walking along. And there's something magical about having a camera like this in your hand, not over your shoulder. If you're walking with it, if I hold it open, people are just enamored. And I love that I'm able to connect to people because I guess that's me. I'm a people person. I love interacting with people and making those connections. And I send them photographs. I send them printed photographs in frames because it matters to me that the photographs are printed. So I'm not giving them an email. I'm printing those photographs and giving them to them. And they're telling me they're on my mantle. They're in my house. Thank you so much. They really love the fact that they were photographed with a camera that they had no idea what it would look like. And then they have an actual photograph because I'm a photographer. I'm not just an image maker. So that's such an inspiring story for me. I was so excited when I was walking around and wondering if anybody would say yes. The first person you'll see sitting, he's squatting down by a bin of DVDs in a gigantic bin that's way too big for DVDs. You can only see the ones at the top. It's a ridiculous way to display your DVDs. But he did it after I bought a DVD of The Office. And there's a guy who I bought a typewriter from. You'll see. I said, can I get you as a typewriter salesman? He said, okay. So you'll see the typewriter that I bought. And those are fascinating little vignettes into people's lives that I'm so glad to be able to make. And I really do think that there's something to carrying a camera without a strap that looks like this to make a little bit of magic as you're walking along and have people come to you and say, hey, look at that. You go, yeah, can I take your portrait? And it really makes it so that you can get that interaction. And for me, that's really important. That's probably, whether you're traveling and you go to a different place, you don't know anybody, you want to meet some people, bring a Rolleiflex. You're guaranteed to meet some people. All right, that's today's photography talk. Please take a look at the link. I'll be back next week. We'll talk more photography. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. Hit the Patreon if you can support. Thank you to all my supporters. And if you want to add to the support, you can also go to supportkenneth.com. All right, as always, here's the good light.